There's a man living among us that almost nobody understands, and I'm about to show you why he might actually be the smartest person in the room. Stick with me to the very end, because what you're about to discover will completely change how you see solitude, strength, and what it really means to be alive. The world looks at him and sees weakness, isolation, fear. They think he's hiding from life. But what if he's actually the only one who truly understood the game? What if his quiet is not running away, but running towards something we've all forgotten? If this resonates with you already, hit that like button. And please subscribe, because we're about to uncover something that your soul might have been searching for. Let me start with the uncomfortable truth. We live in an age obsessed with noise. Everyone who matters is busy. Everyone who's successful is visible. They broadcast their lives. They fill every moment with movement, conversations, plans, and the constant hum of validation. And anyone who doesn't, they're labeled antisocial, broken, maybe even unsuccessful. But this man, he chose differently. He stays home, not because he's afraid, not because he failed. He stays because somewhere along the way, he figured out what most people spend their entire lives searching for and never find. Here's the first thing most people get wrong about this man. They confuse solitude with loneliness. These are not the same thing. Loneliness is an ache. It's the absence of connection. Solitude is a choice. It's the presence of peace. And this man chose peace. His home isn't a prison, it's a sanctuary. Every corner reflects his inner world. The way he arranges his books, the light filtering through his windows at dawn, the routine he's carefully built, coffee the same way every morning, a specific chair where he sits. These aren't just habits, they're rituals. They're how he speaks to himself without the world screaming over his voice. While others measure their lives by movement, applause, and how busy they are, this man measures his by depth, by clarity, by the quality of his own thoughts. And here's what crushes them. He's actually happy, more at peace than most of them will ever be. Now, let's talk about something most people won't admit. Staying engaged with the outside world is exhausting. Not for everyone, but for certain people, it drains them in a way that others can't comprehend. Every conversation costs them something. Every social interaction pulls energy from a well that doesn't refill the same way it does for extroverts. Carl Jung, who basically invented the concept of introversion, understood this. He said introverts don't hate people or social interaction. They simply process energy differently. The external world doesn't fuel them, it depletes them. But solitude? Solitude is where they recharge, where their deepest thoughts return, where they become whole again. This man understood this about himself. So instead of fighting it, instead of forcing himself to be someone he's not, he built a life around his truth. And that is wisdom most people never reach. But here's where it gets deeper. His home isn't just a place to rest. It's a mirror of his mind. Psychologists call this territoriality. It's a basic human need to create space that reflects who you are. For this man, every object has meaning. His bedroom becomes a temple for rest and dreams. His workspace becomes a stage for creation. Even the smallest details, the cup he uses every morning, the chair he always sits in, become symbols of identity. He's not collecting things. He's building a psychological architecture, a space where he doesn't have to perform, where his thoughts can wander without judgment, where his energy isn't constantly being drained by the noise of existing for an audience. And yes, if you're feeling this too, leave a comment. I want to know you're here with me. Now, let me ask you something that might hit different. What if the real rebellion happening in the world isn't the loud one? What if it's the quiet one? We live in an era that worships activity, that mistakes noise for importance, that equates visibility with worth. And then there's this man. He rejects the entire premise. He's not trying to impress anyone, not performing for the crowd, not posting his accomplishments or proving his value through endless content and endless hustle. In a world addicted to chaos, his choice to be still is an act of revolution. He's rediscovered something philosophers have been saying for centuries. Pascal once wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Think about that. Most of our anxiety, most of our depression, most of our sense of emptiness, it all comes from our fear of silence, our inability to be with ourselves. But this man, he learned to sit in silence. And in that silence, he found clarity. He found himself. Here's what the outside world doesn't see. Inside those walls, there's constant conversation. Not loneliness, but introspection. Deep, relentless thinking. He's analyzing. He's questioning. He's building philosophies about how to live. He's processing years of experience, extracting meaning, understanding patterns that others miss because they're too busy moving. Philosophers, scientists, some of history's greatest minds found their breakthroughs in solitude. Nietzsche, Newton, Thoreau. They understood something fundamental. Insight doesn't come from noise. It comes from observation, from quiet witness, from being present with your own mind long enough to actually understand it. But I need to be honest with you about something. There's a line here, and it's crucial you understand it. Solitude can heal, but it can also isolate. Peace can restore you, but too much safety can trap you. The same walls that protect him can eventually confine him if he's not careful. The healthy version of what this man has built is active, it's conscious, it feeds creativity, meditation, restoration. The unhealthy version is passive. It feeds avoidance, fear, and disconnection. The difference? Intention. Is he staying home to connect with himself or to escape from the world? Is his solitude nourishing his growth or slowly suffocating it? The truth is, it's a dance, a rhythm between withdrawal and engagement, between the inner world and the outer one. Because even the deepest thinkers need movement, they need experience, they need contact with life outside themselves to stay truly alive. But When this man gets it right, when he maintains that balance, that's when something rare happens. He discovers a kind of freedom most people never experience. Think about it. The modern world operates on a system of constant verification. You need to be seen to be valued. You need applause to feel like you matter. You need external validation to know you exist. But this man broke free from that system. He's not playing the game. He measures his days not by praise, but by peace. He values his time and attention more than recognition. He understands something that shakes the foundation of everything we've been taught. Freedom isn't about where you go. It's about how you feel when you get there. In his space, he's the observer and the observed. He has no one to impress, no audience performing for. His freedom is a quiet morning where he can hear his own thoughts. That is a completely different kind of power. Now, let's address something that makes people uncomfortable about men like this. It challenges everything we've been told masculinity is supposed to be. Society tells men to be loud, to dominate, to fight, to prove themselves through endless achievement and visibility. But this man represents a different kind of strength, quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. His masculinity isn't measured by conquest or dominance. It's measured by discipline, self-control, emotional intelligence. He's learned what took most people decades, or what they never learn at all, that real power isn't about forcing your will on the world. It's about mastery over yourself. He knows how to sit with sadness without drowning in it, how to enjoy solitude without losing connection, how to build stability without needing applause. These aren't weaknesses. These are the foundations of genuine strength. And that is an evolution, a redefinition of what it means to be a complete man. Here's what I want you to understand about the psychology beneath all of this. There's something called self-containment. It's the ability to generate emotional stability and satisfaction from your inner life instead of constantly seeking external reassurance. For most people, the self is like an open window, constantly affected by the weather outside, by other people's moods, by opinions and judgments. Every breeze moves them. But this man's self is different. It's a house with strong walls and open light. The storms can rage outside, but he remains grounded, centered. He's not empty. He's full of thoughts, reflections, questions, dreams, an inner world that's endlessly rich and layered and alive. He doesn't need endless movement to feel alive. His life moves inward, and that's enough. And you know what the society can't handle? It's threatened by this, because his quiet is an accusation. Not through words, but through contrast. He doesn't display wealth or status. He doesn't perform ambition. He doesn't need to prove how important he is. And in a world built entirely on display, on advertising yourself, on constant exhibition, that's radical. That's disturbing. That's powerful in a way that makes people uncomfortable because they can't quite name it. Let me tell you something about what he's actually discovered. His isolation isn't an escape from life. It's an entrance into it. He's built what philosophers have been describing for centuries, a system of living that's aligned with his authentic self. He's not chasing what everyone else is chasing. He's not measuring his worth by the same metrics. He's asked himself a question most people never do. What do I actually want? Not what should I want, not what looks good, but what actually brings me peace. And he answered, solitude, depth, authenticity, presence. And he organized his entire existence around that truth. His home isn't a retreat from reality. It's the stage where he lives most honestly. The walls around him don't confine him. They protect something sacred, the conversation between his thoughts and his soul. And through that conversation, he becomes something the world rarely produces anymore. A man at peace with his choices. A man who doesn't need an audience to exist. A man who isn't afraid of silence. A man who measures his life not by what he's done, but by who he's become. You know, we usually think of strength as noise, as dominance, as the ability to impose your will and be heard above the crowd. But there's another kind of strength, quieter, deeper, invisible. It's the strength to be satisfied with simplicity, the courage to step away from what drains your soul, the wisdom to know that isolation is not punishment, but privilege. His home is not a step back from reality. It's the place where he lives his deepest truth. The walls around him don't imprison him. They protect the sacred dialogue between his mind and his essence. And from that dialogue, something becomes possible that the world struggles to produce. A man who's whole. A man at peace with his choices. A man who doesn't fear silence. A man who doesn't need an audience to matter. Most of us think of strength as loud, but he teaches us something different. He shows us that balance isn't found in constant movement. It's found in the ability to stop. The brain needs rhythm, just like the heart. Contraction and expansion, noise and silence. Without the quiet, even joy becomes noise. Without reflection, even success feels hollow. Maybe this man isn't behind. Maybe he's ahead, living a future that we're too distracted to imagine. A future where presence replaces performance, where being replaces doing. A future he's already living inside his own walls. So, the next time you see someone choosing to stay home, someone preferring their books and their routines and their silence, don't mistake that for weakness. That might be strength in its purest form, the kind that doesn't need applause. Maybe he's not hiding from the world. Maybe he's built one inside himself, one that no noise can disturb, one that no chaos can steal. And while everyone's running, he's standing still. And somehow, that makes him the only one actually moving. If you've made it this far, you're part of a small group. This isn't just another video. It's a mirror. Maybe you saw yourself in it. Maybe you saw someone you know, someone who needs to hear this. Share this with them, please. Leave a comment with one word that describes what you're feeling right now. If this touched something deep in you, hit that like button and subscribe, because there are more hidden truths we're going to uncover together. You're not alone in this. And sometimes being alone is exactly where you need to be. Until next time, stay honest, stay quiet, stay strong.